Coming up, manifesting your true desires.
I go, they can't see me like Houdini, Lamborghini. It go, they can't see me like Houdini, move discreetly. It go, they can't see me like Houdini, Lamborghini. It go.
Welcome to Misbehaving Women, where we unapologetically dive into the issues that matter most to women, from wellness to feminism and everything in between. No sugarcoating, no filter.
We're here to spark conversations about the real life challenges we face, the topics that often get swept under the rug, and the ones men need to hear about if they want to truly support the women in their lives.
I'm Kelli Taylor, a best-selling author, award-winning acupuncturist, and hormone coach for women's health. I'm passionate about helping women live their best and healthiest lives.
I'm Rebecca McMillan, founder of Worthfulness.com, an online self-guided program that teaches teen girls and young women real tools and concepts they use to support unshakable self-worth for life. Together we're here to shake things up and have some...
Oh, I make some real. Sorry. Okay, so
Do that again?
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
Together, we're here to shake things up and have some real, no BS conversations.
So Paul has been trying to promote our podcast. He's wearing his Misbehaving Woman sweatshirt all the time. And just yesterday, he wore it again to work. And I'm like, what did anyone say?
Work? That's so awesome.
I know. But he said no one ever says anything to him. And he's finally, yesterday, he realized, and he said, I think people must think that this is like a porn I like or something. And I thought, oh my God, he's right. A guy wearing a shirt that just says Misbehaving Women is maybe like...
Way too good. Oh my God, I love it.
How can I get so many reactions? The most of my whole life of anything I've ever worn. And he gets 0. So people must, like when you told your dad the name of the podcast, people are thinking, oh, what's this guy into?
The dirty guy.
The dirty guy.
Seriously. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Maybe. I hope that's not why. Maybe it's just that people don't feel they need to say like, yeah, like there's not some solidarity. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out for our guys. I also want to say I found out this real, I don't know if it's a hack or a trick to spread joy, but when we went and saw Santa and we were in the mall and I was wearing a Santa hat. Now it could be because my Santa hat has like a leopard print, the trim around instead of the white, it's leopard print. I don't think that's it. I think it's that it's a Santa hat. The reaction I got from people in the mall, it's like they thought I was Mrs. Claus. I couldn't believe it. People acted like they knew me. People were coming up to me. Hi. Oh, how's your day going? Big smile. I kept thinking, oh, do I know that person? By the way that everyone kept, as I'm walking through the thing, I'm like, why is everyone smiling? I'm like, it's the hat. So if you want to spread joy, you slap on a Santa hat and you go out in the world. And for whatever reason, maybe it's the way everyone's feeling right now, that thing was really making people happy.
Oh, I love that so much. And
I know.
Did not even know that you could get leopard print. So again, I've said this word many times and it comes out again. How bougie am I?
I know. Well, I am bougie.
You are.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm owning that. I also want to let people know, so New Year's is coming up, and on New Year's, we have, we do a lot of traditions, because one year I researched, what are the New Year's traditions all over the world, and like pulled the ones that I like, but a really, really powerful one, and I think it's great in alignment with what we're going to be talking about today, is... And we've done this with friends and family over the years. We cut up all these little pieces of paper, and you write on each piece of paper the word of like what you want to get rid of.
Yeah. Oh, that you want to get rid of.
Yeah. What are things you want to release? So you write all those words or those things on all your little stack of papers. Everyone does it together. And then you write all the things you want on another stack of papers. And the ones you release, we have a fire. And then most people read them out loud and we tell each other, and it's kind of like quite a beautiful bonding thing, but there's never any pressure. If you don't want to tell people the things you're releasing, you don't have to. And watching a word you want to get rid of burn in a flame, there's some sort of powerful thing to that, like seeing it.
loving this so much.
Yeah. So anyone we've done it with really likes it and then says, "Are you doing that this year? Can I come over?" Anyway, yeah, so I just want to put that out. And then the ones that of what we do want for the year, we also will all read aloud to each other and share and just it's sort of like setting an intention. So that we do a lot of beautiful ones, I think, and they were all stolen from cultures all over. But that one I think really aligns with what we're going to be talking about today. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And before you go to your wild party, I think Kelly's going to be in Vegas. So, um,
I the most un-Kelly thing for New Year's for sure. But I think it's time to try something different.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I have for everyone is two recommendations over this little period. I don't know what we call this period before most people go back to work, but if you didn't watch the Jamie Foxx stand up, I would call it more a one man show than stand up, called What Had Happened Was. I think it's so beautiful. It's him just explaining the story of what happened to him when he had his stroke and how like the media reacted and what everyone said. And I think he's the most talented entertainer that we've had. I've said that for years. He can sing, he can dance, he can act. He's hilarious. Like, what is that, a quadruple threat? He does all of the things. He does improv. Um, and so he's himself in that way, but then there's also moments where he's so serious and he cries a lot throughout it because it's still obviously very raw of him telling the story and how grateful he is. So you're laughing really hard one minute and you're kind of tearing up with him the next. It's so beautiful. Hang in there because maybe some parts might feel too serious to people, but he always comes back with a really big punchline in the moments where he might have got real serious. And then the other one is Fortune Feimster, who is one of my favorite stand-ups. And her actual stand-up is out called Crushing It, her latest. And it's just cute stories, mostly about her mom. Laugh out loud. You could have it on while you're at home doing stuff. So yeah, I really recommend those two over this
Oh,
period.
that's so great. I actually didn't know that he had a stroke. I had no idea.
Oh yeah,
So you're all about pop culture.
it's my thing.
I don't keep up with the pop culture. I don't.
Celebrities, yeah.
Yeah, I don't very often. I usually find it out secondhand from other people.
Yeah.
So I did not know that, and I will definitely
No,
check
they
that.
thought he was gonna die. He was out of it for like 21 days. He doesn't remember.
Wow.
His sister kind of saved his life. He tells that story. Like otherwise, people just thought they were like, "Oh, he's sick," and they were just kind of leaving him. It's a wild story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you for
very
sharing
worth it.
that. I will
Yeah, yeah. So, do you want to tell us about Vegas, or do you want to wait till you go and let us know when you get back what
Yeah,
you think?
well, I'm going with some friends, and we had thrown that out as a joke, and then something that's like, let's just go, let's do it, let's experience it. Usually, I have everyone to my house on the coast because it's just chill here. We usually like to somewhat similar to what you guys do, but we do the Chinese lanterns.
Oh,
So
nice.
we've had a cabin on the beach, so every year we would just walk down to the water and we would release the lanterns. So we would have one. We would do two each. So the first one would be to release anything from that year. So if I was this year, would we be let go of 2024 and whatever we want to let go of. And then with the other lantern, it's bringing in whatever we want for 2025.
Oh,
Oh,
amazing.
I'm going to do it with the lanterns instead of burning it. But I guess technically it is burning it because eventually it goes. But we've had some hilarious, like we watched it where all of a sudden the whole thing just goes up in flames in front of us. It doesn't even take off. It just, like, as you're letting go of it, it just bursts into flames. So we've definitely had some funny nights. We've had some ones where we've tried to do where it had rained a little bit and we're waiting for that moment to let it go and then it goes up. And yeah, we've had some good ones. We've done some really great bonfires on the water.
Fun.
I love those.
Yeah.
Just bundle up, bring some drink to keep warm, and then spend the night out on the beach. So that's always fun too. But this year we're going to Vegas. We're doing it, so it should be good. So I will let you know.
Amazing.
In Vegas is probably not going to stay in Vegas. We'll come out on a podcast. So
You have to tell your friends. So You know Vegas's slogan? That's not true. I am a podcast host, and
Well, it's interesting the process because we didn't do any research, we just said let's book it. So that's what we did. We booked it. And then as we're going along, we're just finding out wild things. Like number one, every hotel we got a notice saying every hotel room is going to get checked by police. So they check every hotel room. So you have to let the police in to check your hotel room.
for
Um,
what?
I guess I don't know for shooters. I'm assuming.
Oh my God.
Because and then we also didn't know that a big part of Vegas closes down for New Year's. So we're like, well, what do you mean? So a lot of the casinos are closed. Tons of restaurants. We've tried desperately to make reservations. A lot of restaurants are closed, and we're like, well, there's gonna be like I don't know. I want to say a million people. I don't know how many. A lot of people. Like, where are they eating? Where are these people going to eat? So we're gonna have to figure all of that out. We've got reservations, and we were really
Oh,
good about making sure because I think I've said before, I'm not a planner. I'm like, okay, let's go to Vegas, and then I'll have a place to stay, but I figure it out as we go along. But as we did some research, actually, I'm not even gonna say that I didn't do any research. My friends did research. They're like, oh my God, nothing's open. So then we started to plan the restaurants that we're going to go to. So we have reservations while we're there. I don't know what's going to
so
be.
you know you have at least one meal a day.
We know we have at least one meal a day. We're going to go check out the Sphere. Sphere? Is that how you
Yeah,
say it? Sphere?
sphere. Yeah.
We're going to go check out the Sphere and
Kelly, that reminds me. So you know how last episode I was like, you're saying Affleck fancy, and I put that actually in our title. I was hoping that somehow Ben Affleck gets alerted to his name being used, and maybe maybe he'll start pronouncing it fancier. I have friends saying,
so many times I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. It doesn't sound any different to me at all. But I don't know, maybe because that's how I say it.
I had so many people write me based on, I guess, me calling you out on that and saying, like, why are you saying it that way? Saying, where is Kelly from? What? I can never place her accent.
Oh my God. I laugh about this so hard. I do not understand it.
I know.
This is not a word of a lie. A minimum of once a week, I get asked, where are you from? And I'm always like, what do you mean? Oh, I'm from Ontario.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but we're like, where are you from? And I'm like, Ontario. Did you not hear that the first time? And they're like, okay, and then this is what I get. Are you American? No, not American. Are you Australian? No, not Australian. Oh, are you from Sweden or Switzerland? Are you Finnish? And I'm like, no, like I'm not any of those. And none of those make sense to me. Okay, maybe because I'm blonde, but none of those make sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I've never thought you had an accent, but I was like, oh, everyone thought Kelly had an accent.
Everyone it says the same
Yeah.
thing too. Now my sister also gets asked if she's American a lot. So we grew up in Ontario, but we grew up across from Detroit. So we spent a lot of our time, our childhood in Detroit. That's the only thing that we can think of because her and I get asked a lot. I think I get asked more than she does, but because it's at least once a week. I get Australian a lot. I get asked if I'm Australian and what part I'm from. I'm like,
Maybe you should start saying Michigan, and people are see if they're like, oh yeah, yeah, like that makes sense.
when I go to the States,
Yeah.
the first thing people say to me, "Oh, are you Canadian?" I don't know what to say. It is bizarre.
Well, Paul said he thought you sounded sort of like California surfer.
Oh, California.
Yeah.
California a lot. I do get California a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
And then I had some friends thought you were from the Maritimes. So you are just a woman of the world.
Yes, no.
You have lived different places. Maybe you just pick stuff up.
And if you listen to somebody from the Maritime, okay, Maritime. Yeah, if you want to say it. If you hear from somebody from there and then you listen to me, you know for sure.
Yeah.
Not from there. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
know.
when I lived in the States, everyone assumed I was American. And when I come back here, a lot of people thought I was American. There's such small changes in the dialects of Canadians and Americans. I think only actually Canadians and Americans could tell. Someone from anywhere else, they don't know.
Yeah, it's really, well, especially if I go to the States to do my courses. So if I'm in Texas or something like that,
Yeah.
right away people are like, "Oh, you're Canadian."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Vegas, I'm gonna have lots of stories when I come back. And right now, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see the video, whether we'll release the video, but today I'm on the coast. Becky is in Vancouver, and and I'm literally in my closet. And I had to hide because I've got a house full of people. So, and then I didn't realize, so I'm in the closet and I'm trying to get everything set up, and all of a sudden the doorbell goes off, and I realize, oh, the front door is literally right under. So the Amazon guy came and decided that he was going to ring the doorbell. So he rings the doorbell. Finn goes nuts. And then I hear Clint yelling at Finn, and I'm like, okay, this is all happening right underneath me. So I said to Clint, I'm like, we can't have any more guests. The doorbell cannot
Can
ring.
someone stand guard at the front door? I will say, I can already tell. I feel like our sound is going to be mentioned. So we are recording virtually, and maybe our sound isn't as crisp as we would want it. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, we do apologize for that. We are still figuring things out.
yeah,
We've got little things because we love to. If you've got something that you think we could work on, we are very open because we are new at doing this, and we are doing our best to try and make this, the best it can be. And sometimes I think it's nice when I get the comments, because then I'm like, okay, we know what we need to work on. So
yeah,
do appreciate the feedback. We do
absolutely.
get more good feedback than bad, so I just want to say that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of
Or
us.
that sometimes we have a little bit of sound issues, and a lot of times it's me.
No, it's
I
just getting used to the mics.
Yeah, I do like to sit back, and today I have pillows, so I can't even sit back. So, so
So
yeah.
manifesting is today's topic, which we are about to get into.
Yes. And I realized too, so at one point in time at the center, I have a wellness center, and at the center, I used to put on manifesting workshops for the girls. And it was the first time,
What
well,
girls?
the practitioners,
Oh, okay.
practitioners. And I have always done this. I've always done this. I've done this before I even knew what it was. I just have had this innate knowing that this is what I want to, and I didn't even have they were goals, I guess you would say. I had the goal to do this, and then I would go do it. And I realized that, over time, the language has changed, and I do like, what do you desire and what do you want to manifest. I love that lingo a lot, so I've kind of changed it from goals to manifesting. And I did not know that this was very triggering for some people. I had no idea. Who knew?
The word manifesting?
The the word goals, just any word, anything about putting this out there of
Oh,
what you wanted to do. And what I learned from one of the workshops is, because I do it, I thought everybody did it. I had no idea that this wasn't a thing that people did. And I had brought in, even though, I wanted to do it, but I had a life coach who actually was leading the workshop. And at one point in time, she's just like, Kelli, you need to close your mouth. Because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I could not believe that it was so triggering for people that they didn't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to do it. Nobody's forcing you to do it. And then they couldn't believe that this was a huge part of my life. Like, this is something that it's not even, yes, people really put an emphasis on January and being able to do the goals or manifestation, whatever word you want to use, at the beginning of the year. But this is a check-in throughout the year. What are you know, am I actually on track? What's going on? Reassess, all of those things. And what I learned is that for some people, the thought of putting something out there to manifest and then not doing it was too soul crushing. And those are my words, not their words, but how I received it was just too soul crushing for them, that what if I don't do this? Like, what would happen? And that was one of the big questions is, well, what happens if you don't do one of your goals, like at the end of the year, if you haven't done it? And I'm like, well, nothing. Nothing happens. And I said, first of all, I would know before the end of the year that this goal needs to be tweaked. So I'm already going to be in tune with what's going on with this. And we'll talk about this today because I think this is really important, is that you need to choose goals or manifestations that are not coming from your head, but are coming from inside you. What are your true desires? What is it that you want to build, grow, have? But it has to come from inside you. It's not from your head. You're not making a list from your head. It's actually coming from deep within you. And I always like to say, like, what is it that you can't stop thinking about? What is that thing that you're thinking about all the time? And it's in those moments when you're alone and you're thinking about things. Does this keep coming? Is there a replay? Do you start to get obsessed about it? And, I think of a house, you really want a house, and then you're obsessing on, what's the list called? The MLM? Is it
Oh,
the
the MLS?
or is it MLS? Yes, the list where you're looking at all the realty,
Yeah.
and you're on there all the time, and you're looking and you're trying to find your place. You get a realtor, you start looking for places, but you're too afraid to actually maybe go ahead and put an offer on a place. Maybe something's stopping you from doing that. So I like to say, what is it that's coming in from inside you, that's deep burning that you want? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a new career. Maybe there's something that you love that you would really like to, take a chance on, but you're too afraid. Those are the deep manifestations that I like people to work on. And I always say, if something isn't working out throughout the year, so this past year has been a great example. I'm so excited to do this because this year was the first time ever, ever, I had 3 big goals or manifestations that I was working on, and none of them came. None of them came at all. And so, a couple of reasons that can be. And one of them can be is that maybe it's going to take longer than a year. So some of our manifestations, not all of them come next week, next month. Sometimes it can take 14 months or 18 months, because all of the manifestations I chose 3 big ones. And I don't usually tell people to start with 3 big ones, but these are 3 big ones that have been kind of burning, and they're things that I know that I wanted to bring forward. But what I realized in the springtime was that, and we're going to work on this today, there's 3 reasons that they didn't happen. And maybe what I'll do is I'll wait until we kind of get into the steps of manifesting, and we can come back to that, why that didn't work out for me.
And I want to say, because I think there's a lot of people out there that talk about manifesting, and, I mean, there's literally thousands at this point. Maybe the word is triggering, as you say, and goals is another word for it. But anyways, just as someone who knows Kelly's pretty well over I don't know how many years, and you even admit yourself that you are a powerful manifester. And if you're going to listen to someone, I would listen to Kelly because she has built the life to back up that she has manifested things she's wanted over the course of her life. So that's what I always think, look at someone if they're telling you that they can do something. Well, what does their life look like? And so she says I'm a powerful manifester. I believe her. And so this is one that I would definitely listen to, even if you think, oh, I've heard this before, or I read a book and it didn't work or whatnot. Well, listen to someone who you know it worked for them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one of the stories. One of my favorite manifestations ever was I was in school and my program was, well, it was 7 years, but 5 years of TCM school. And while I'm in school, I am also working. So my first year, I worked full time, and on top of that, I went to school full time. And then I realized that's not really going to be something that I can sustain for another 4 years. So I decided to change my job, and I ended up working with two amazing, brilliant TCM doctors, and both women, and they helped me be able to, define my skills as a practitioner. And I really got to see the behind the scenes, how to build a business, and because I had no idea how to build a business. And I actually had a lot of good, how can I say this? I had a lot of good memories from my grandmother who had her own business. She took over, her husband died and she took over his business. And so, in a time when women didn't work, this woman took over her husband's business so that she could feed, my dad, who was her son, and also take care of her mother. So, she was just such a force to reckon with in the business world, yet the most softest, quiet, gentle woman. Lovely woman, and everyone loved her. And she left me with some check boxes that I knew that I wanted to incorporate when I started my business. And so, having that, I decided I was going to work with these women and take in more information on how to run a business. And that's what I did. And so my 5th year of school, before I was even graduated, I started looking at spaces. And I had gone to Hawaii, and I did a floor plan of what I wanted my wellness center to look like. And my very first mistake was I started showing people. Don't do that. Don't share this with people, because that's the easiest way for you to not do what you want to do, because people will try and talk you out of it. And that's what every single person did. Every single person said to me, why do you want a space that big? Why do you want that many rooms? You need to start small. You need to do this. You need to do that. And if it wasn't for me probably being a Taurus and stubborn, I was just like, no, this is what I want. And it wasn't as though when I did that plan, I had it in my head that this is the place that I wanted. I drew that while I was at the beach. It was something that just came to me. Like, this is what I wanted to manifest. I knew I wanted my own wellness center. This is what came about, and I just held on to it. And I started, when I came back, I knew I wasn't graduating until the spring, but I came back and started looking at places and looking at places and looking at places. And I just could not find anything close to this plan. And so, of course, what does everyone say? Stop looking. It doesn't exist. You wrote something down on a piece of paper. So don't worry about that. Just find a really small space and start small. And then they were like, well, really, you shouldn't start your own space. Why don't you go work for somebody else? And I was like, that's not what I want. And I could have. I had lots of offers. It's not what I wanted. I had this deep desire to be able to have my own place. That is what I wanted. And it was so deep within me that I closed out everything that everybody said, and I'm like, this is what I want. And so I found a place. It was actually in Craigslist, and it was, I think, 4 or 5 blocks up from where I was. It was the same the same block, but it was about 4 streets up, 5 streets up, whatever. I get there, and off of the main street, I walk up the steps, and I said, this is my place. And I'm like, I know this is my place. So then we got up, got into the hallway inside the building, and I'm like, 100% this is my place. And the girl isn't even there yet to open the place. And I'm like, I know this is my place. I know this is my place. Clint's like, Cal, why don't you just wait? The girl's not even here yet. So I said, no, I'm telling you, this is my place. And he's like, oh, okay. So she opens the door, and this place has been abandoned for a really long time. Like half the ceiling's falling out. It smells horrible. We walk through the place, and Clint looks at me and he's like, this is your floor plan, isn't it? And I'm like, it is. And he's like,
Wow.
this is so, he's like, how do you do this? And I'm like, I have no idea, but I knew that I was
Yeah.
going to find this place. It was,
Right.
and it wasn't from my head. And if I can be
Yeah.
really clear to say that, anything that I manifest is not something that I thought, oh, this is what I want. It is such a deep knowing inside. It's something that I obsess about. I know that I want this, and I am not going to give up on it until it comes together. And that's what happened. And in the end of the day, that was my floor plan, and that was a place I spent, I don't know, what was it, 16, 18 years at? And yeah. So it's possible to be very specific with your manifestation and it actually appear exactly how you want. And I wasn't going to give up on what I wanted. That was the other thing too. And I had to bring in things. And the small things that I would bring in is I visualized myself every single day getting up in the morning, getting dressed, getting myself ready for work and walking to my work because that's what I wanted before I found it. I knew I wanted to walk to work and I visualized myself walking down the street. I didn't know where I was going, but I just put a place there that I was going to walk into this space. And what did I want to do every morning when I got to work? And how did I want to feel when I woke up in the morning? I wanted to feel like I was the most excited to get up and start my day, which is how I've always been. I wake up, I'm so grateful for my day. I cannot wait to get my day started. And that I was going to go and I was going to be part of somebody's health journey. I knew that is what I wanted. So I would get myself feeling how I wanted to feel when I woke up, and then what did I feel like when I was walking to work. And then when I got to the door and I was opening the door, what did I want? How did I want to feel? So I kept kind of in like just bringing in all of those, not just visualizations, but feelings that go along with the visualizations. And then what did I want to do when I walked in the door? And I thought the first thing I want to do every day, okay, this is before you had online, you know, what do I want to call it? My online planner, like our
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, what do you call the software? We had the very old school, great big book. And I'm like, the first thing I want to do is go to the book and see what my day is. So in my visualization, I would visualize every hour that I was working and I would have a name there. They'd be made up names, but I would have them and I'd have little check marks beside each, and that just meant that each one was going to show up that day. And
Wow.
I really took it to like the 10th degree. Like I wanted this to be something that I could put together and bring to life, and I did. And then I would visualize myself going to, and I made a lunchroom. And I'd go to the lunchroom and I'd have a desk in the lunchroom where I could put all my stuff on. And then I would have my treatment room and I would visualize what my treatment room looked like. And I visualized what colors, what scents. I did everything. And you can too.
And how long did you do that before you found your place?
Oh, it took a long time to find my place. I want to probably say anywhere from, I want to say maybe a year, less than a year, probably less than a year, somewhere in there. Yeah,
Okay.
it took time. It took time for it to happen because on top of me visualizing this every day, I'm living life too, right?
Right.
But this place, I wasn't ready for this place financially. That's the other thing that I want to bring in, is that this place had been empty, and this place had actually been, it started out many moons ago. It started out as I think it was a naturopath clinic first, and then it was a Western doctor's clinic. So it was two other clinics before, but it had been abandoned for a really long time. It was in very rough shape. So we had a lot of work to do with it. But I want to say that I wasn't financially ready to be able to take that on because I was still in school.
Right.
I couldn't have, even if I had found that earlier, I couldn't have taken it because I wasn't ready financially for it, because I
Right.
wasn't ready to practice yet. So I did move into it, I think a month, maybe 2 months, at least a month before I started, before I actually graduated the full program. So I was already getting that going.
Wow.
Yeah. So I also say trust in the universe that everything will come to you exactly when the divine timing is right, too. So, for whatever reason, that ad did not go into the paper until I was ready. That space had been there. There'd been a
Yeah.
sign up for it, but the ad hadn't. And she put that ad up, and I was the person. And the other thing about that is that when we started, I had I had a budget in mind that I could actually work with because I was just starting out. Now, I did have some people because I was building from working with one of the other women. She was just like, you need to get started. So she was really amazing to allow me some. I had 2 days a week where I was starting to build up people, but it wasn't enough to pay for this place. I'll tell you that much. So it was interesting. But by the time I did move in, like I was busy, but again, this place was much bigger than what I could afford off of what I was making at the time. And so I had a budget in mind. And when I looked to see what the landlords were asking, I was like, I had to learn about triple net. I didn't even know what triple net was. I just thought, oh, I'm just going to pay. I thought I was just paying the amount, the lease amount. And then when I found it, and then she said, okay, and then there's triple net. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And what do you mean that's more money? So I'm learning quick and I'm realizing now I can't afford this place. So I said to her, I said, listen, I said, this is what I can afford. I really want this place. There is nothing that I want more than to be able to rent this place, and I'm going to be here for a long time. Which turns out I was there for almost 20 years. So yes, I was there for a long time. So it was they ended up taking what I asked them to pay, and they kept my rent like that for a very long time. So I'm very grateful that it allowed me to be able to build my business. But I did negotiate with them, which was the other thing too. Sometimes you got to put yourself out there. I didn't, the woman who had to go to the landlord, she said to me, he's never going to accept this. Never. Like, I'm really sorry to tell you. She's like, he's never going to accept this. And I was pretty crushed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose that. That space, and it's so perfect. But I went home and I just sat there and I just said, you know what? This is my space. I have trust that this is my place. Like, all these things cannot fall into place. And then I also have the saying too, if it's not meant to be, let it go. Let it fall apart. Because if it's not meant to be, I can't pay more than what I've offered, and I'm not going to go about that. So if it's not meant to be, let it go. Something else will come. And she called me back and she's like, I can't believe it. She's like, but he said yes. And she said he's excited to have you in the building.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you can have everything that you want and you desire. You have to have trust. You have to have certainty. You have to have your thoughts, your words, and your actions align with your desires. These are really key things to keep in mind when you are manifesting.
So my journey with manifesting, the first time I manifested, I didn't know I was doing it. I was, I think, 19, probably 19, working at a gym as a salesperson. And a woman that I worked with knew about manifesting. She'd read this book, and she was kind of a hippie, and she was telling me all about it. Oh, it's this idea that everything out there is already exists, and you meet someone, they have what you need, you don't know, and you have to put it out there. And kind of talking a little bit about, and I was like, this Looney Tunes, she kind of had a wacky personality. But I've always remembered that. So at the time, I really wanted to go and backpack in Australia and New Zealand, and I was saving up for it. And it was going very slowly. I had to start paying rent, and I was like, this is impossible. I am never going to be able to save the money to get a ticket and go there. But they had given me one of those old-fashioned portfolio books. It was like a little, uh, I think they're called portfolios, like a big daily planner calendar, but it had handles to be like a briefcase. I loved it. I think I still kept it. But it had a map on the first page, and she would come in my office, and I would often unconsciously have it open to the map and just be staring at the map and looking at the world and looking at Australia. And she said, she goes, oh, what, you're always looking at this. And I said, oh yeah, I don't know. I want to go there and I'm looking where I want to go. And then one night I was out for a run, running up a hill. I'm listening to the radio. He still did that on like a Walkman. And they started a contest to win a trip to New Zealand. And I'm like I'm running up the hill up to the border. And then I'm like, oh, they're going to start within 10 minutes. I better start going back. So I'm quickly running and I'm like, I'm not going to make it. And then bizarrely, like right when they said, okay, we're taking callers, I kind of get in the door. I run in, I get the phone, I call the radio station, and I won. And I won it.
No way.
Yeah. And I won a trip for two to New Zealand. So I didn't have to pay for my airfare ticket. So then I just had to have the money to get there. And I got, you could get a work visa for Australia easily. And she said to me when I won that, she goes, you manifested that. She's like, you made that happen. You stared at that map looking at Australia every day. And at the time, I still thought she was Looney Tunes, and I didn't, but I always remembered it. And once I became to believe in this stuff and have done it more in my life, I thought, whoa, that was the time I did it, and it worked, and I didn't even believe in it. And I will say that people I know that I believe do this and don't believe, to me, that's the most powerful proof for people that, aren't believers that it works. Because I know some people who unconsciously have really visualized a lot and really focus on their fantasies or things they want. I think they even will call it something in therapy, like people that spend too much time in their fantasy world, but it's them visualizing their dream life or what they want, and they create all those things. Like there's people in my life I know like that, and I'm like, you're a really powerful manifester, even though you don't know it and don't believe in it, because you so obsessively think about what you want in your life. And then the other time that I can say concretely that me visualizing my manifestations really worked was after my divorce. I made, for years I've made my vision boards, and it was like a giant poster board, and I had my things on it. And at the time, everything on that board would have seemed impossible, truly impossible. But I'd sit in front of it every night, 20 minutes, have it in front of me, close my eyes, sort of meditate, but go think of each thing on the board. And within 3 to 4 months, everything on that happened. Everything on that board happened. And that's when I proved to myself, because I still didn't know if I believed in vision boards. I'd done them on and off for years. And I was blown away. I thought, whoa, how did these things happen? Because they would have truly seemed impossible based on my life circumstance at the time. So that's one time where I almost then proved it to me. And I thought, whoa, that's twice I know that I really have visualized and this has worked. I actually pulled out, I have old storyboards. I don't know if Kelly could see, which like the writing is like
Amazing.
these, and I was reading them before we started talking. These are from like 2013, 14. These are in Ireland, looking at, okay, what came true? And I never knew. I was like, should I just do pictures or should I do words? And I felt more aligned to words, but sometimes it's nice to look at pictures. So eventually I do both. I would do clippings and have pictures and the words. But it has been years since I've done this at New Year's. Ironically, I kind of dropped that. But it was cool to look through this and go, oh my gosh, and like tick off a lot of these things came true. Not the year I have written, because I always thought it was like a goal where you should like write down, be very specific to the universe. When do you want this by? Some of these I didn't get till, to be honest, 10 years later. I think that I've had blocks along the way that I've worked on. That's actually one question I have for you. But a lot of them have come true. So it's kind of cool to see, whoa, like this did happen. Just putting the intention out there and, thinking about it. The part that's the struggle for me that I know a lot of, I would say spiritual teachers say, and you talked about it, is the feeling. You're supposed to feel like it already happened. So in the last 2 years, I've really worked on that when I think of the thing I want and feeling what it would feel like. But that's very tough for me to get there. Uh, and I think that that comes into maybe blocks that I have that you might have to work through in therapy or whatnot. Uh, but yeah, anyway, so I am a believer. Even the biggest proof for me for people that don't believe is people that don't even know they're doing it, but I've seen them create these lives through doing it. So I think there's probably different ways. Like I don't know if someone say it should be pictures that you look at. It should be words you write down. Is there one recipe? Probably not.
I'm
But
gonna say no. I have researched this a ton, and I know that everybody has, their, best way to do this, and that you can only manifest this way. Everything else doesn't work. And I don't believe in that. I think that if you are a visual person, then pictures might be exactly what you need. And that may be more powerful for you because you're looking at it all the time because you are visual. Sometimes words might be more powerful for you. So, or maybe it's a combination of the two. So don't limit yourself in how you want to do this. I feel that the point of manifesting is to be able, it's like a compass. It gives you purpose to be able to see what trajectory you want to go in. Like, where do you want to go? And how are you supposed to know that? I feel like it's easy to get lost if you don't know where you're going. You don't have a map. And this is like your map. And these are callings. Like you've got the map and you're like, well, like you said, you looked at the map, where do I want to go? You got called to go to Australia,
yeah,
New Zealand, Australia,
yeah,
right beside each other.
yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
in the right vicinity,
yeah.
right? But that called you. You didn't, use your head to pick out where you
Totally.
want to go.
Yeah.
There's a calling inside of you. And I say to people all the time, you have that within you whether you know it or not. And when you become obsessed about something, go with that.
Right.
See where that takes you.
Yeah.
And manifesting can be big things. It can be your house. It can be a, travel. You wanted to travel. It can be a new car. It can be a new job. These are all really big manifestations. But manifesting can also be a designer pair of jeans that you've had your eyes on for a really long time, but that's outside your budget. Or, a membership to a club or a gym or something that you really want to do, but you're trying to figure out, how am I going to pay for that every month? So it doesn't have to be these enormous things all the time. You may not be in a cycle of your life where you need anything. You may have your house, your car, your dream job. So you may want to do little manifestations and things for yourself. So you may be an overly busy person, but you're really exhausted and you really need a trip to rejuvenate. And so that may be what you can't stop thinking about. I need time to rejuvenate. So make that your manifestation. It doesn't always have to be, and that may be a trip away for a long weekend. It may not be able to be, a year around the world.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what you want, is a year
Yeah.
around work. But all of these things are things that you are deeply asking for. That's what we're going to work on today.
What do
And
you think about someone that doesn't believe, thinks, like you said, it's tricking people or they think it's hokey or whatever, picking a small thing, like you said, designer jeans or something that is quite attainable, but maybe is a little bit out of reach or whatnot, just to sort of prove it to themselves?
yeah,
What do you
or
think
a
of that?
couch. If you say that you need a new couch for your house, but you're saying to yourself, well, I can't really afford that. It's not in the budget right now. It's like, okay, think about your space. Think about that couch that you really want. Start looking for your couch. And, manifesting isn't necessarily going to Crate and Barrel and getting a couch. You know what I mean? Maybe it's manifesting the couch and then you see it on Craigslist or something where somebody bought the couch. It doesn't work for their house. They barely used it and now you've got this new couch. that can also be manifesting.
Right.
You manifested to still get your dream couch that's barely been used, and
Yeah.
now you've got this beautiful couch.
That's actually a good point. I know you're going to go through your steps. There was a shaman I used to see. He unfortunately moved away. I loved him. And he told me about manifesting. He's like, if you want to have a house, but you can't afford a house, you should spend your weekends going to open houses
Mm-hmm.
and being that person that's looking at houses, putting yourself, going through the actions, see yourself in the homes, go through the process. He's like, even if you do that for a year or two before you have the money, he's like, you're putting out the energy out that that's what you want.
Yeah. And it 100% it's putting out the energy that you want, but it's also getting you ready so that when this is supposed to happen for you, you are going to be ready to pull the trigger because you've been to enough open houses. You know what houses are going for. You know what you can get within your budget. And you now have a checklist. I like this. I don't like this. I like this. Yeah, definitely don't want that. So you're going to be really specific about what it is that you want. And in the manifestation, I always say, put it out there, be very detailed about what it is that you want. And then what you said, go out and look and see, okay, is this realistic? Like if you're trying to, like it would be unrealistic for me at this point in my life to go and be trying to manifest a $5 million home. Right now, that's not in my budget. and I'm going to spend all this energy on something that, may take 20 years to get to. I may need a bridge. So say that I've got my $5 million home that I know that I want, but I need a bridge before that happens. So I need to find a home that's within my budget that checks the list of things that I still want and be happy with that until I can manifest. So I may need to have 1 or 2 homes before I get to that next home.
Okay, let me stop you. So, from what I know of manifesting, if you, let's say, hypothetical, you want a $5 million home and you went through all your steps of focusing on a $5 million home, why, like, I feel like you're saying, well, that you can't like, why is there a block there? Why couldn't you just say, I'm manifesting a $5 million home as my home?
Okay, so this is the thing, is that yes, I can manifest that $5 million home, but I may have to wait before that happens. So it may take me time to get there, but we also have to take steps to get there. Does that make sense? So
Not really, because that's, to me, that's the conscious mind, right? You're thinking very logically. Well, I don't have the money right now for a $5 million home. And isn't manifesting like subconscious, working with the universe? It's things that maybe you don't know how you could ever get.
yes,
Okay.
100%. But I'm going to say this. I also think that when you've got these giant manifestations, there's sometimes what I refer to in the manifestation. I took a manifestation course that says that sometimes you need bridges to get there. So it doesn't mean I cannot manifest that $5 million home. It's not saying that you can't do that. It's saying that I may need some bridges before I get to that $5 million home. So manifesting isn't because I am not ready for that $5 million home at this point. So what you talked about, the blocks. I've got some blocks before I get to that place because I've got some work to do before I can manifest that $5 million home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
So
Which would be the only reason someone couldn't set that as their goal or manifestation, right? That
you
like
can still make that your manifestation.
Yeah.
Don't lose what it is that you want, but
Yeah.
know that you may have to have some bridges before you get there.
Right.
So I'm going to give you an example. So I talked about this earlier and said that, 2024, I had 3 really big manifestations. I knew that it was going to be a lot to bring in what I was hoping 1 year. Knew that it was possible that it was going to be longer. by the springtime, what I realized was, okay, I've got some blocks and that this is not happening for 2024. So I had to go back to my manifest, or what I wanted to manifest for myself. And this is the one of the things that we're going to talk about today, is that there's two lists that you're going to make. One list is going to be very specific about what it is that you want to bring in. The second list is going to be the thoughts and the feelings and the stories that you tell yourself about these things. Do you see where I'm going there?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I realized that what I wanted to manifest and what my thoughts, my words, and my stories that I was telling myself was the reason I wasn't getting this.
Yeah.
So I realized, oh, I've got some work to do.
Mm.
So 2024 has been me doing the work to remove those blockages so that I can manifest the things that I want. Now, I believe, and we will see for 2025, but I believe I'm going to manifest all three of these things because I had to spend the time doing the work. Now, I feel like by springtime, I will know, have I done enough work? Will these things start to come in? And these are big things that I'm saying. So again, they might not all be here, before the springtime, but I will have a good idea of how much I'm manifesting towards that. Because what I realized, in spring of 2024, I hadn't even budged. Like, I was like, I knew this wasn't happening. It was so clear it wasn't.
You mean you were telling yourself that? That was your story?
No, what I
Oh,
had this gut feeling inside me that these weren't going to happen.
okay.
And I went back and I was like, because I had done my check-in. So I want you to do your check-in. So I do regular check-in. So it's spring. I want to do a check-in and see, all right, what's going on. And I realized I have not made any stride whatsoever towards any of these things, because that's the other thing too, is as you're manifesting, you're feeling that vibration as you're getting close to it. And like I said, I walked up those steps, I knew I was onto something. You know what I mean? I knew that I had it. It's like this knowing. I knew everything was brewing. It was getting close to it. And I even walked up from my home. So it was like I knew, I was feeling already that this is my vibration. I realized I had nothing. Nothing was happening with these things. So I went back and I said, okay, let's reassess. So for the people who want to manifest but are so triggered by it because they're afraid, what if it doesn't happen? Well, this wasn't happening for me. So I went back and I looked and I said, hey, okay, number one, is this really what I desire? Did I make this up in my head, or do I truly desire this? And it was like, no, I truly desire this. I know that this is what I want for myself. So I was like, okay, what is it that's going on? So I had to go, what are my thoughts? When I come up, like one of the things is manifesting a new home. And what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? And I had a lot of fear. I realized I had a lot of fear in manifesting my new home. There was quite a few blocks I actually had. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I had to go back and start figuring out where these fears were coming from, where these stories were, where were they coming from? Like, what is going on? So that's what I did. I had to rewrite my story. I had to address the fears and start letting some of that go and make a new story for myself. So remember what I said in the beginning. Your thoughts, words, and actions have to align with your desires. My thoughts, words, and actions were not aligned with any of my desires.
Well, you said thoughts, words, and stories.
Yeah, well, actions and stories, yes.
Okay.
But the thoughts and the words are the stories that you're telling yourself.
Okay,
Does
got it.
that make sense?
Yep.
And so I always say your thoughts, words, and actions. So for example, like, if you, I'm trying to think of an example. So if you want to,
Well, most people want to manifest money, I feel.
I was going to say you want to manifest your genes, but then
Okay.
you put money aside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
those kind of things. Those would be the actions to go along with it.
Right.
So what I want to do is have you put out your desires, and then what are your thoughts, words, actions, stories that you're telling yourself about these manifestations. And once you have those all in check, then the universe can start to conspire to help you bring these together. But if you've got two conflicting things going on, how are you ever going to manifest that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the example that I kind of came up with, just so that people could understand what I was saying. So when I say that you want to write out your manifestation and being specific, so I just did an example one so that people could hear something to go off of. So you want to come up with a new home. So you are going to start to think of a specific space that you want, what area of town you want to live in. You're going to say how many bedrooms. So say it's a 2-bedroom home with 2 baths, a large living room with big windows so lots of bright light can come in through the daytime. It has a yard with a fence so that your child can play in and your dog has room to roam around. The living room's an open concept with wood features, and although it's large, it feels warm, comfortable, and inviting to hang out in. It boasts a beautiful fireplace that you can see yourself using a lot in the wintertime. The kitchen is large and open with plenty of space to move around because you love to cook for your family and friends. It has a deck that you see yourself entertaining guests during the summer. So by now you're kind of getting a feeling of what this place is like, right? So this is your dream home. You can get into even more detail, but this is kind of what I want you to start to write out. Now, on either the opposite side of the page or the next page, what I want you is to write out the story that you're telling yourself when you dream of your home. So your story could sound something like this. I can't afford my dream home. It's more than it's way more than what I make, and my budget won't allow for it. No home has everything that I desire. What will my friends and family think if I owned a house like this? It's too showy. This home is too expensive to heat and the yard's too much work to do. And I don't have time to clean a house like this. I love entertaining, but it's exhausting. And I don't really have the energy to put into, entertaining guests and then thinking about all the cleanup, and you're tired and you just want to have the weekend to rest and relax. But you see how the stories start to come in. So you've built this home, this dream home that you can entertain in. You've built this dream home that's the perfect size, but then you start to think about all this, the realities,
the negatives.
Having a house like this. So you get stuck in that. So your brain is playing these two things. It's like, oh, I really want this house. But then you walk in and you start sabotaging it right away. And so all of a sudden now you're sitting there thinking, well, manifesting doesn't work. I never manifested this.
Yeah.
But you've sabotaged this. So you want to have all of your ducks in a row. Does that make sense?
Yep. I just thought of something. I've heard people say, maybe we've talked about this too. Everyone's on a different sort of like energy vibration or energy frequency, right? And someone that has a lot of negative thoughts is probably at a lower energy frequency. So they would struggle to attract stuff just probably based on that, right? Like they might be someone who thinks they can't manifest.
I think anybody can manifest.
Okay.
You just have to have your thoughts, words, and actions match what it is that you truly desire. So anybody can do that.
Okay.
That's it. That's the key. Really, honestly, that's the key. And you have to have certainty and trust that this is going to happen, regardless of all the stuff that the universe throws at us.
Yeah.
Because I believe that when we truly desire something, the universe will test us to see how badly we really want this. And so with my wellness center, the universe took me on quite the ride. Like we went and looked at a ton of places. kept saying, how badly do you want this? How badly do you want this? So I feel like I was tested in how badly I really wanted this. There were places that checked some of the boxes, not all the boxes. So I could have easily taken something that was less than what I wanted if I didn't trust and have certainty that I was going to find what it is that I wanted.
Yeah.
My thoughts, words, and actions were in alignment because I thought about this every day, multiple times a day. I was visualizing myself every morning getting up and going to work. What was that going to look like? I visualized what my schedule was going to look like. Like I was fully booked and rocking and rolling out the gates because I visualized that schedule every day.
Right.
I visualized the type of people that I wanted. I visualized what I wanted to work on. And that has changed over the years, but that's okay because I knew how to manifest so I could start to shift this as it was going. Because what I first visualized and manifested as the type of patients I wanted, I realized after I had done that, that wasn't really the direction I wanted to go. So I slowly started to shift it. And some of the universe actually brought me in a direction I never really thought I was going to go. And it was really smooth flowing or really smooth moving. And I flowed in a direction that when I was first asked, did I want to do this? I can say what it is. It's someone asked me if I wanted to work with cancer patients, and I said, or if I did work with cancer patients, I said no, and that wasn't really my direction that I was looking for. And so the universe ended up sending me more and more cancer patients, and I realized that I love this. I'm so grateful for this. It is a big part of the work that I do. I get to help a lot of women through this time and period in their lives. And yeah, so you have to also be open too.
Right.
You can manifest and then see what else can come in, because I love leaving a little bit of room for the universe, because the universe can dream bigger than I can.
What do you think about the notion that the universe doesn't have universe energy, whatever you want to call it, in any sort of spiritual realm, doesn't have an opinion? Whatever you're putting out, the universe says, okay. And that's what it gives you.
I believe very, very, very deeply that the universe wants to give you everything that you ever desire, plus so much more. I believe that there is no amount of wanting to give us things. There's no limit on that. It is so infinite. And that we can have everything that we desire, plus we have to be open, we have to have trust, and we have to align our thoughts, words, and actions. I know I keep saying it, but it really is. Like, if you can align all of those things and have trust and certainty that you can bring this forward, then the universe will give you even more. And if you are constantly settling for things, and what I mean by settling is if you are always, say you want to manifest one thing, but then you think it's too hard, so you go in a different direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It may not be the direction that you want if you're always, because it's coming from your mind.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're starting to think about what it is, then you're always going to be going in the wrong direction, and then you're going to have to take the time to kind of loop back and come back and get in alignment again. That's why I say, like, it is such a deep desire inside of you. Like, it's such a deep knowing. There's nothing that can budge you from it. No one can talk you out of this. You know that this is what you want.
So you've kind of gone through the it's your thoughts, words, and actions. Do you have other steps?
Those are the biggest steps, is being able to write them out, number one. Well, number one, this is what I say. If you're saying, I think a lot of people don't understand what it means to have that deep desire, and they're like, well, yeah, but like, I really want those jeans. You can still want those jeans. That's okay. You know what I mean? You can still manifest the small things. That's okay.
Yeah.
The big stuff is coming so deep from within. So I believe that if you're going to do this, then your first step is to be able to take some time, go for a walk in nature, do a meditation, do some breath work, come into yourself, do something that you know. In some people, it might be, I've got to go for a run.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to run, you got to shake off that, whatever it is that day, the energy, just get your energy shifted so that you come into yourself. Sometimes I love to, do like a good smudging of my space and my
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Burn candles. If all of that is not your jam, don't do it. You know what I mean? But I will say, make sure that you've done something to come into your own energy. So I think the definites are either meditation, breath work, some type of movement. Those are the keys to being able to come back into yourself. So know that when you show up, this is authentically you being able to come from a different space, not your head. If you're stuck in your head and you're finding it's really hard, don't do it that day. Pick a different day. And then once you've got that, then I want you to start to, what do you desire? And if you don't know, then start thinking about, what is it that you think about all the time? What is it that you obsess about? And you might not know right away. So it may take you some time to figure that out. And sometimes it's the things that we didn't even think about. So an example that I'll use is maybe you're really, really good at knitting sweaters. And it's what you love. And every day at work, you can't wait to get home to knit the sweaters. And it's a thing that you love. Everybody loves them. You love giving them out as gifts. Maybe that's something that is a direction that you go in. And maybe it's something that you start teaching to make money from. Maybe it's a thing that you start a business from doing. I don't know. But it's those things that you deeply love, that desire. And I know that there's people that say don't turn your hobbies into businesses because, you'll stop loving it. I don't know if I believe that.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, maybe that's true for some things, but, I do believe that it is a deep calling inside of you that will come out in the way of obsessively thinking about it all the time. It's what you think. Or you really want, maybe it's time for a new car, or maybe you've seen a car that, you really love, and everywhere you go, you see the car. The universe keeps showing you that car everywhere you go. So it's like you're driving along, you see the car. Well, okay, so maybe that's another thing that you might want to put on your list, especially if it's time for a new car.
When you brought up the knitting, that reminds me, this is again another example of someone who I don't think believes in visualization, but it's what you're saying, listen to your calling or what you're interested in. On one of my trashy reality shows, there's a guy and he, for whatever reason, and he was he was like a total guy's guy type dude, but he got a sewing machine that would embroider for whatever reason. And he thought everyone would think, all his friends would be like, that's so cool. You could like put your monogram on things, and he was putting letters and images and sewing on everything. And he became obsessed with the sewing. And his girlfriend's like, you're such a loser. All you do is sew all day. Yeah. And he loved it and came alive. And, cut to however many years later, that became a very successful company where he's almost like a male Martha Stewart, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He was a lawyer, but he followed, like his own thing, and he stuck to it, and it was clearly singular just for him, and no one around him understood it, but he had some sort of, I don't know, calling, internal knowing.
Well, and it can be anything. Like maybe your true desire is maybe you love dogs so much. You love dogs and you want to train dogs, and you see the service dogs and you want to be able to, have a service dog and be able to now train them so that other people can, benefit from having a well-trained animal that can, I don't know, whether it's for the deaf or the blind or somebody for the military. Like there's so many things that you
Yep.
can do with the things that you love. So if you're a really big pet person, doesn't mean you can just own a pet. You can do
Right.
training sessions. There's so much stuff that you can do. You can own a dog store, a dog retail store. Like there's so many things. So you just have to start to figure out what is it that is calling you.
In terms of steps, so we have listen to that, your gut or that inner knowing, what you're drawn to.
Yeah, get into your body, have
Yeah.
some quiet time where you can start to think about what it is that you truly desire.
Yeah.
Once you start writing things out and just see what comes up for you and expand on that. And then once you've figured out what it is, then really expand and be detailed in it. That's what I like. As detailed as you can possibly be so that the universe can start to conspire and knows what you're looking for. Once you've got that, then you're going to start to work on, which may be a few sessions. It might not be the first time you do it. You're going to start to figure out what your thoughts, your words, the stories, the actions that you're taking, what are actually happening, the reality of what's going on when you think about what you truly desire. What are the fears that are coming up? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves? And whether they're rational or not doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? This may, one of two things. It may make you realize this is not really what I want. This actually came from my brain. And I think you'll figure that out. So say that you thought you wanted that really large yard and then you decide, oh my God, like this is going to be a lot of work. And, maybe a gardener isn't in your budget. And maybe that's not a reality. So that leaves it for you to have to do all of that. And you're looking and thinking, this is not a reality for me. I'm going to start to look, I want all these things in my house, but I want a smaller yard. Because those negative thoughts are not going to go away. You're just going to keep playing them and you're never going to actually find the house because you're attached to that yard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a block you've created.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is start to figure out what are the blocks, what are the stories, and this may help you define even further what your desire is, or it may be able to help you change the little things that you're like, no, actually that came from my head. I thought I wanted a big yard, but I don't.
Yeah.
So now you've got something that's realistic for you. Once you've got that, once you've got your stories under, I don't know what I'm going to say, under control, once you got your thoughts, words, and actions in alignment with your desire.
Or maybe like healing your blocks, that could take some time, right?
Well, that's what it took me. Well, I guess it hasn't been quite a year, but it's been half a year. I've been working on that, and I feel confident that the stuff that I've been working on is pretty aligned. Like I feel really solid. So we will see. I'm going to give myself a couple more months. I've redone all of my desires. I've been very clear. I've been really working on, okay, what are the stories that I'm telling myself, making sure that they're in alignment. And now I've just been doing the visualization. How does that feel? What does that look like for myself? And so
Feeling like it's already happened, that feeling?
feeling like I already have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Feeling like it's already mine. And once you can do that, then it opens up the universe. Now let's see. Now let's see what comes about. And you have to remember too, you may be ready, but I'll go back to the house because that's an easy one. You may be ready, but don't forget the house that you want may be not ready to sell, to go on the market yet, because the people who are in it aren't ready quite to sell yet. So manifestation sometimes takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Your perfect home is going to come exactly when it's ready for you.
Right.
And like I said about the wellness center, like if that ad had come out any earlier, I couldn't have taken it. I wasn't ready for it because I wasn't financially ready. That wasn't even a thought, really, that I couldn't manifest it. But the minute that I was ready for it, the universe put that ad in and I showed up.
Right.
So know that if you're trying to manifest a place, just remember that the people have to be ready to sell. And when they're ready to sell, you will be ready because you've gone to all the open houses. You've seen what's on the market. You know what everything is worth. You have your list, you're aligned, your thoughts, your words, your actions, everything's in a line. You have trust, you have certainty that this is going to happen. All of that's going to fall into line. and you will have it.
And if it's meant to be yours, like
Yeah.
it will be. Like you said, sometimes you have to let it go if it's not meant
Yeah.
to be.
Well, the other example I will use is the wellness center, I had it, and I thought my next step was to be able to expand and have more locations. So I spent, oh, I want to say a year. It may have been much longer, but it was at least a year I spent going and looking at other places. And every place I looked at that I thought was the perfect place, the absolute perfect place, every single time fell through. So I put in offers. We did everything. And I was like, I'm checking all my boxes. And the thing is that every time I would put in my offer, I said to the universe, if this is not for my highest good, please do not let this happen. And I've always done that with everything that I've done. If this is not for my highest good, and which to me means if this has been more in my head than
Yeah.
inside me, and this is not in alignment with the path that I'm supposed to take, please do not let this happen. So I have very clear boundaries with the universe.
Yeah.
Do not let this happen. And they did not happen, one after the other after the other. And so I'm like, I am doing something wrong. I just couldn't figure it out. And then the market crashed.
Mm.
And I realized this literally. I was in Vegas when the market crashed. My very first thought was, thank you, universe. Because I realized that the universe had conspired to ensure that none of those offers went through because I would have been fucked. Plain and simple. I would
Yeah.
have been fucked. And so that was not my path. And could I have forced those things to happen? I think you can force things to happen. I think you go through a lot of hardships in life when we force something to happen. And that is why I always say to the universe, if this is not for my highest good, please do not let that happen.
I do that too. Well, with jobs and stuff, I've always done that. Because I feel like I forced them, and then I've been like, oh God, I don't want to be here.
And the fourth thing is because we think we want this.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if you can ever think back of times that things that you thought you really wanted
Yeah.
and then you realize you didn't, that's because that manifestation came from your head.
Yeah.
It did not come from your true desire.
Right.
And that a good way to stop that from happening is letting the universe know that if it is not for your highest good, if this is not on the path of where I'm supposed to be going, then do whatever you need to kibosh it.
Yes.
And so here we are.
Yeah.
And
I think
so,
you almost have to, like, it took me a few times, I would say, of forcing things before I realized, ooh,
yeah.
like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you don't necessarily know what's best for you.
And how many conversations have I had with people where, they have thought for sure this is the career that they wanted.
Yeah.
They've spent tens of thousands of dollars to go to university, and do something. And when they're at their end, they realize this is not what I want. It's
Yeah.
not what I want.
Yeah.
And now all the time and all the money that you've put into something, and now they've got to, go in a different direction. Now, I say go in the different direction. Why finish something that you don't want? That doesn't make sense to me. Like if you're really clear, but I always try and have the conversation to say that the difference between you now knowing, that deep knowing that something else is for you, that is the lesson, because now you know what that feels like. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, I just picked something because I thought it would be cool, or I thought it would make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or I thought that this is something that I could do and, it would help people, but it wasn't really what I loved. So. Once you've got that going, I think you're pretty good. I think once you can kind of align these things, I think then you just got to have some trust and certainty that you can put this together.
And when people write out the stories they're telling themselves and see there's blocks in their stories, other than maybe therapy, is there what else could people do around that?
Oh, that's such a good question. I've never really thought about it. I've always just worked it out. I actually I shouldn't say that. I like because I go to therapy. Um, yeah, you can go to therapy and to talk about, what these blocks are. But I always come back to for myself, what are my deepest fears? You know what I mean? Like what's under there? What's really under there? What's really going on? And I think maybe for some people it's not as easy to do. Um, but I think you've got the space to be really honest with yourself. And if you don't have that space because you're really busy, you've got a family and all that, yeah, I think a counselor would be really good to be able to help you kind of pinpoint what some of that stuff going on underneath is. And, for some people, it might be some deep trauma. Yes, get some help, figure that out. Absolutely. Have someone help you work through that.
Well, I guess the alternative is when you write out that story, write the opposite. Write that story now in the positive, and then try and make that your thoughts as
Oh,
consciously as you
absolutely.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely have to rewrite that. That
Yeah.
story has to be rewritten. But the story will be easy to rewrite once you figure out what it is that's underneath it. And it'll be easier too because now you realize, okay, I need to figure out what am I saying, and then you can either eliminate what you're saying altogether, or you can have just flip it, like you said, flip it and have a new way of seeing, like with the yard, you know what I mean? You can flip it and either say, okay, this is going to be a lot of work, but I can make it a lot of fun, you know what I mean? Or you can say, I want to change this altogether. I don't want this. So there's a few different things that you can do there.
Yep. I'm just assuming people's blocks are big core belief things, but maybe they're not. Maybe it is just as simple as that in
Yeah.
some things too.
Well, if it's a big core belief system, then maybe I'm wrong, but I'm wondering, is that your true desire? Maybe there's something else to look at.
Well, as we're wrapping up the year and we won't be here over New Year's, but we've been talking about blocks a lot today, and we're going to start the new year with a way to literally clear blocks from your body, which we have. The topic is, I don't know if the topic enemas, but we both have some pretty funny stories around enemas that we've done. God, I have a lot of funny stories around it. Me and Paul, and oh my gosh. The I don't for some reason that just attracts hilarity.
Yes, and it's interesting because we've both done enemas. We've done
Yeah.
them multiple times,
Yeah.
and who knew we had this in common? And we're going to go through all the benefits of it and yeah, and our own hilarious stories because let's be honest, it's not a comfortable.
You gotta laugh at it. You
Yeah, it's
gotta
not a
laugh.
comfortable. I don't know. I was really embarrassed the first time I went, and yeah, so I can't wait to hear your stories. Neither of us have heard each other's
No.
stories, so
Yeah.
that should be good.
Yes. So that will be coming in the new year. That's our first episode coming out. And yeah, we are doing it because there's health benefits around it, but we happen to have some funny stuff that happened to us. So come for what? Come for what we tell you that we've learned around the health, or come just to hear the embarrassing stories.
They will be.
And yeah, we wish everyone a wonderful new year, and let's all manifest our biggest dreams.
Yeah, happy New Year, and this is going to be an amazing year. I'm looking forward to it. 2025, here we come.